Algebra 1. In this unit, we are going to talk about polynomials. Today, we are going to focus on adding and subtracting polynomials. But before we do that, let's talk about what a polynomial is. So what exactly is a polynomial? We're going to break it down to the smallest piece. A term, which you're familiar with when we talked about like terms, is also called a monomial, and it's the product of a constant and one or more variables. So a monomial is the product of a constant and one or more variables. We also call this a term. A polynomial is the sum of two or more terms. So we have some special names for polynomials, and the first one is monomial, second one is binomial, and the third one is trinomial. If you think about the root words here, mono meaning one is one term, bi meaning two is two terms, and tri meaning three is three terms. Today we're actually going to go through and classify based on the number of terms. And a hint here, to determine the number of terms, I would split the problem along the addition and subtraction signs. Okay, one other thing that you need to know when we're doing this is that all answers should be written in standard form, and that means that the exponents or degrees of the terms should be decreasing. So when I look at this polynomial here, notice we have four terms. I should have this written so that my biggest exponent or my biggest degree here, my negative v to the third, goes first. The second largest exponent is squared, so I'm going to take my negative 10v squared and bring it straight down. Then we're going to have a plus 5v, and our constant should always be the last thing. Okay, so it's very important that you remember to write your answers in standard form. Okay, first type of problem that you're going to do on your homework today isn't actually a learning target. We just wanted to make sure you know the vocab. So the first thing you need to do is put the problem or the polynomial in standard form, and then you're going to classify it as a monomial, binomial, trinomial, or polynomial. So remember, mono means one, bi means two, tri means three, poly means many, so anything more than three. Okay, so first up, in standard form, biggest exponent here is the square. So my negative 3x squared is going to go first. Then I have a plus 6x. And my constant, the one without the variable, is always going to go last. Now if I'm counting the number of terms, once I have this in standard form, or even before, if I split this along my addition and subtraction signs, notice I have 1, 2, 3 terms. Okay, since there are 3 terms, we would call that a trinomial. Okay, now if you get something like this where there's only one term there, you can't do anything to put it in standard form. It's already there. And if there's one term, remember it's a monomial. Sorry about that. So remember, everything should be in standard form. So biggest exponent, working your way down to smallest exponent. And then classify as a monomial, binomial, or trinomial. Go ahead and try these two problems, and once you're ready, move on to the next examples. Okay, so first target in this unit is add polynomials. You've actually done this before. All we're doing is combining like terms. So when I'm doing this, I'm looking for the same variables with the same powers. Okay, so notice I have 5x to the third here, and I have an 8x to the third there. So if I add those two together, 5x to the third plus 8x to the third gives me 11x to the third. Okay, next two like terms are negative 1x squared and negative 3x squared. So if I add 1 and 3, negative 1 and negative 3 actually, I get negative 4x squared. My last two like terms are 6 and 2. 6 plus 2 is 8. Moving on to the next problem. Same idea. Let's find all of our like terms. So I'm going to start with my biggest exponent. I have an n to the 4th. Notice that there's not another n to the 4th there, so I'm going to go ahead and just bring that down. Can't combine it with anything. Okay, next biggest exponent is n to the 3rd. So I have 2n to the 3rd minus 3n to the 3rd. So 2 minus 3 gives me negative 1. Now, typically I don't write that 1 there. If you put it there, it's fine. Next terms are my n's. Notice I have an 8n, but I don't have any other terms with just an n in them. So I'm going to bring down my 8n. And then I just have this plus 3 and plus 6 left over. So 3 plus 6 is 9. Okay, go ahead and try the guided practice problems. When you're done, move on. Okay, the last target, or the second target we're going to cover today, is subtracting the polynomials. Only difference between this and addition is that you need to remember that this minus sign actually changes all the signs in the second group. So what I tell students to do typically is distribute the negative 1. So my first group is going to stay the same. And then I'm going to multiply everything by negative 1 in the second group. And all that's really doing is for those last 3 terms is changing their signs. So once I've done that, I can go ahead and combine my like terms. I'm going to find my biggest exponent here, so r to the 4th. So I have 6r to the 4th plus 6r to the 4th, which is 12r to the 4th. Next biggest exponent is r to the 3rd, and there's only one term there, so minus 4r to the 3rd. Next biggest exponent, we have r squared, so I have 8r squared minus 4r squared, which is 4r squared. And then I have that plus 5 that I can't combine anything with, so I'm just going to bring it down. Okay, so let's do that one more time. If there's a negative, we're going to distribute a negative 1 to that second group. The first group stays the same. Second group, all of the signs are going to change. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and combine our like terms. So again, starting with my biggest exponent, I have 6b to the 4th and 8b to the 4th. 6b to the 4th plus 8b to the 4th is 14b to the 4th. Next biggest exponent is the 3rd. So I have negative 8b to the 3rd and negative 7b to the 3rd. So negative 8 plus negative 7 is negative 15. Last 2 terms, negative 6b and negative 4b, give me negative 10b. And I have my final answer there. Okay, so when we're adding, we just combine like terms right away. When we're subtracting, we go ahead and distribute that negative through the second group and then combine our like terms. Go ahead and do the guided practice problems before we move on to the last example. Have your answers checked before you get your homework. So the last example here just has both, and this is how you're typically going to see this. It says add or subtract the polynomials, write your answer in standard form. Pay attention to the sign. If there's a plus sign, you don't change. And if there's a negative sign, you change signs. Okay, so when there's a plus sign, we're just going to combine our like terms right away. So I have negative 8x to the 4th plus 2x to the 4th. Gives me a negative 6x to the 4th. Okay, then I have a negative 7x and a negative 7x. Those are opposites, so they actually cancel each other out. So I'm going to ignore that. They're gone. And then negative 3 and negative 5, when I combine those together, give me negative 8. Okay, so difference between that first group and the second group is this sign right here. Since there's a minus there, we need to distribute that through to change our signs. So we have 4n to the fourth, minus 3n to the third, minus 6. And then when I distribute my negative, I have negative 8n to the fourth, minus n to the third, plus 2. Let's go ahead and combine our like terms. So I have 4n to the fourth and negative 8n to the fourth. Give me negative 4n to the fourth. I have negative 3n to the third minus n to the third. You can put a 1 there. So negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4n to the third. And then I have negative 6 and positive 2. So I get negative 4. Okay, so as we do these, hopefully you'll notice that the process is very similar to things that we've done in the past. All we're really doing is combining like terms. The biggest thing that's different is you need to remember that if there's a minus sign in between the parentheses, you have to change the signs in the second group, or you have to distribute the negative 1 through the second group. Okay, there are more guided practice problems for you. So you have 4 more guided practice problems here to do. It means you have 10 total to have checked before you get your homework today. Please make sure you raise your hand and ask questions if you don't understand anything, especially with that minus sign there. Once you finish these, have these checked out and you will get your homework. Just kind of a recap of today, we talked about what polynomials were and some special names. We focused on adding and subtracting today. Tomorrow we're going to start multiplying polynomials, and then we will finish that up on Wednesday. And you will have your first quiz coming up on Friday. So get those guided practice problems done, have them checked, get some help if you need it, and then you can work on your homework.